Hello and welcome, and this is the third day of April 2018, a Tuesday crypto day. Every day is such, and with everything in this video within your own risk and reward. And welcome, Litecoin crossed against Ethereum, getting close to the 0.33 handle, an area of significant Fibonacci resistance from this high and this low. So I'm getting close, very, very close to making a trade, and I'll be accumulating Ethereum and distributing that of Litecoin. When we take a look at the Bittrex page, the highest volume, 9,400, basically almost 10,000 Bitcoin. And a Bitcoin price is at 7,400. That'd be about $70 million in just the conversion, and only, of course, the Bittrex exchange with Bitcoin. Verge, of course, traded on other exchanges, including on the Ethereum one, which isn't at the top, actually. That is surprising that Verge is it even traded on this exchange? Because how is it not in the top volume? But anyway, it's got large volume, as does Tron, ADA. The GRS, I've gotten out of it, and maybe I wish I didn't. However, it's gotten large volume. Is it going to consistently stay there? Probably not. So I like to just play the codes that will, at least on the worst days, trade 30, 40 Bitcoin a day. And of course, ones like Tron, ADA, which is Cardano, of course, things like Steam dollars. I was looking at this yesterday because you probably heard the gambler, they just want to get action and they're just look for us. And for me, when I'm not really doing much, there's not much for me to do as far as the trading aspect, I look to just get into things. I didn't get into it. I have extra Bitcoin, and I realized I could afford to get into a few more codes, but I passed on quite a few of them, including that of Steam dollars. Now, if we take a look at the winners for the day, that one is up 47.2% and the leader. When you see some of these other gains, Mercury, that's like a new one. I think Block ticks as well. Verge doing very, very well. But we take a look at the losers. The bottom of page 1 is 2.1% down. The third worst is down about 6%. And codes of 3.5 and 5.9 Bitcoin volume take the cake, down 10%. Status Network down 6%. It was down a little more, but this thing was up very, very big. Yesterday, I talked about that one earlier today, so I'm not going to show its chart, but let's take a look at a few other ones. And I'll start with Ardor. Ardor, I don't know how it's pronounced, but I know how the mathematics works when I see situations of markets, in this case, going from a low of 924, and then last May going up to 7,600. But that's better than a 20x gain. And then 2 weeks after that, it fell from the 77 almost 100 area down to 550, losing about 12, 13 times its value. That's big intraday or big back and forth trading availabilities. So then it goes from the low to 550, and then a little over a month later, or about 4 weeks go by, and the price goes from 550 to 12,000. That's better than 20x. 120, and then multiple times trading around the 30,000 or the 3,000 rather level. 4x loss. And then it makes it up even higher this time to the 20,000 handle. 2,600 to 20,000, so about an 8x gain, and then falling back to where it came from, 20,000 down to about 2,800, but an 8x loss. And now within this particular week, just a small green candle, all things considered. Is it a turnaround of the market? Well, daily time frame has an interesting situation. As you talk about roller coaster, these markets are on. Well, I can use this like a water slide kind of view within the daily and the 18 average. And I love this indicator, just using these two weighted moving average, 18 periods of highs and lows. I don't really think it makes too much of a difference how many periods you choose, and I like weighted over regular, simple, or the EMAs myself. But it does a very good job in just making it so just quickly looking at a chart and just understanding the story very, very well. And as we can see, the fall like you'd have on a water slide, and then the rate of descent ends, and it did so around March 11th, March 12th is when that happened. So now we had a spot where it rallied from in this type of a green move on March 13th, and then it spent from March 13th to April the 2nd. So 20 days, about 3 weeks of going sideways, the market correcting very well through time. And now within this, we have yesterday's session, which I believe is today's session. This is just a few hours in. This thing is flying right now. But just breaking out above this and looking to possibly revert the trend. So obviously band flattening out, 20 days worth of doing such. Establishing a level of resistance, well, I'd like to see it go a little bit further, and it probably will. We have this little bit of resistance or previous support. I'd be looking for resistance at around the 48 to 50 handle. Right now at the 40. Let's take a look at this on a single hour time frame, and this thing again is just having a huge move. As that's what these cryptos do when they go up fast. You got this big volume that's coming into play. You look at this on the 10-minute time frame. Heck, I'll even go 1 minute because I got the opportunity to understand it more, and it's going to explain the story very well. It didn't happen all at one time. It started at the 2026 mark, so 20 hours, 26 minutes. It's an easy conversion mathematically for me, as far as I can subtract anything by 12 really easily. So 20 minus 12 is 8:26 p.m. This is New York time. So 26 minutes after the hour, it starts the rally, and it ends at 30 minutes after the hour. So during a cup of coffee break, that's what comes into place. So very, very cool, fun. I had a few sell orders that occurred within that point, and I'm trying to get whatever amount of gains, as many trades as I can. 5%, 6%, 7% gains from last trade, or losses either way. That's good enough for me, but I'm looking for strategies and how to play things like this, because where did I sell? I've had 4 consecutive sell orders from the area of, well, 42.88 is my last sell. I'm looking to buy it back. It's gotta go down a bit more than that. Before 42.88, it was 3,900. Because I've sold 4 times in a row, I wouldn't mind buying till at least around the 3,900 variable. And because when things go up so fast, I realize they got the potential and usually do have big moves lower. That if I'm used to buying or selling a lot in a row, that it's not a bad strategy if volatility is increasing, to instead of waiting for maybe like a 7% decline, to wait for a 15% decline. So whatever the volatility is, it's increasing in that sense. But I sold like this, but in a spot you sell like a bit here, like 37, you sell like a 38, sell at 4, you sell at 43. That's basically what I like to do within these markets. Verge has been really fun, as it came up to this key Fibonacci point. So for me, I didn't do any selling from like 880 to like this 1,000 mark, because I realized, okay, this thing is just going to make it there anyway, so why do I want to sell like 940 or 930 or whatever in these situations? when I know it's just going to reach that key level. And I pointed this line out in the video in the 4-minute morning today, that it's probably going to make it towards it, and it's not a surprise to see it resist like I'm seeing it right now. Price action on the 60-minute time frame has made a move to this 18 average of lows. First time there since it has lifted off. I have recently made a small purchase buyback, but I've sold so many different times on the way higher. And this is a list of my previous trades, with the top being the most recent, with a buyback at 866 after I had a sell order in at 989. Before that, I sold at 873. I sold at 826. I sold at 749. I sold at 703. 669. Before that, I bought at 633, but that was after I sold at 669 and 640 from before. So I'm just going to keep on playing the numbers game, and this is what this is for me. Nothing more than a game, and it's a fun game to play. But when you play whatever type of computer games which involve scores and things you do with your scores, a lot of them do that. At least they'll give you a score and you're trying to get, quote unquote, a high score. That when you play games, especially when you're obsessed with them, you play them over and over and over again, you learn different things, it becomes easy to win at it. And that's how I'm looking at this. So I understand markets. I realize that this thing is overextended, and that I want to wait for more normal or larger declines than normal for buybacks. So a lot of times, if I'm happy with the market going up, say 6% to take a profit, so going from, like, say 100 Satoshi or 1,000 Satoshi to, say 1,060, then I'll look to buy it back at 1,000. But if the volatility is higher, instead of looking for like a 6% decline, I'm going to look for a 9, 10, 11% decline. And this is what I'm looking for here. So situation within this, it's well overextended. So I realize with things like the 400-minute time frame, the 18 average of highs is in at 782, that I can say I'm normally looking to go for, like, oh, it's 887. That's the last trade. I think it was 860 for me, but whatever. But if I bought at 880 or sold last at 880, maybe I'd look to buy back at 800. That's an 80 differential in price, 10% move. You know what? Maybe a bit more in a spot like this is how I'm pointing it out. Okay, let's move on to Litecoin. And we'll first look at it against the US dollar, and I got the 400-minute time frame to start this off. So there's the decline, band flattening out. So definitely a resistance is being established. It has already come close to the previous support mark. The high right now in at 136.62. This low was placed in at 137.13, so it is pierced below the previous level. And since this faltering fall has occurred from the early March levels at around 213, losing half its value, what has the 18 average done within such? Well, after having a low on March the 8th, it corrects within it, resisting above the 18 highs, once supporting below the 18 lows successfully. But then roughly at around March the 12th in here, as we can see within the 18, it resisting, hugging, just magneting itself to the 18 lows, whichever word you want to use to describe the action, a verb, I guess. Then it continued down, and then resistance point in here, so it was unable to even flatten the band, but another leg lower, and then an attempt to revert trend. As band flattens out, resistance is established. But if you are waiting for it to break the established resistance, it never did such. Further decline lower. And again, now we're having its nicest move from the leaving of the 18 average within this downtrend. So we'll see how it plays in from this point. Fibonacci, I think, is going to be very important from the low about 109 to whatever this high happens to be currently in at 136.62 for any retracements that may happen to come into play. Let's take a look at this cross next against Bitcoin. And within such, after this band going sideways from this rally, that's what you want to see. How, after a big move, is it going to play it afterwards? So the decline from the 189, 190 handle straight down with almost every red candle down, way, way, way below the 18. How did it handle the decline? Or how did it handle after that fall? Well, it had 2 to 3 sideways periods, but bullish, nice movements towards it because of, well, just, it's better to have decent green size than red, but it didn't really make any established move until, of course, this move higher. And during the downtrend, it was able to hold the key support at that level that I talked about. So I drew this line in, and I calculated it a long time ago. It wasn't support originally, but instead it was, we can call it a failed move, fast move higher with what's been going on. So the failed breakdown from 167 to 156 has had a fast move at least right now to the 182 point. But since, of course, it's went sideways, it's now broken this level of resistance. What I like to see happen after this, the 18 average is starting to move higher. It's decently below price action. So I want to see this market support where it resisted. The lower end of support I want to see is 1715 handle, which represents the resistance before the breakout. And the upper end I wanted to see its support is around the 175 handle, which was the original resistance. So between 175 and 171.5 is going to be a key area that I'm going to look at towards. This thing could just keep on flying to the upside, and if it does, I'll be looking for resistance at about the 195 handle as its next key significant point within the market. I'm going to finish this off. I want to talk about silver and JSNP 4. So let's bring the silver chart up. And there's really nothing too exciting about this chart other than the fact that the price is consistent. It's been in this sideways movement mainly from after this fall. So how has the market reacted to this fall? Well, it stayed in the sideways range from about 1630 up to about 1680, 90. So about a 50-cent range, 3%, and it has done so for about 2 consecutive months. Now, what he mentioned was with the case of the cryptocurrencies that if they go way lower, where you're talking about Litecoin breaking below 100, probably Bitcoin hitting or at least breaking below that 6,000 mark, those types of market action that he was mentioning about liquidating, distributing a lot of silver or a noticeable percentage. I think, like, I don't know if he mentioned like half, or not half, but like quarter or whatever amount. I don't know what he owns. But I find that very interesting because I know every time he talks about buying on the way down, which is what I love to hear because that's when you're supposed to buy. So I like a lot of that talk. When it goes down, it's a buying opportunity. It really is. If you have a lot of just feasible incomes coming in, and I know with his channel, a lot of ad revenue would be pretty decent, and through his any type of ways that he makes income with his job, well, yeah, accumulating cryptos is obviously a good idea. I just don't understand why after into cryptos, if you're doing so well, your cryptocurrency balance has got to be just doing amazing, especially when you make in and out trades here and there. Why you would want or need to liquidate silver for cryptos? To me, it should be the opposite. When you turn like very small amount into large amounts, then it's a great accumulation time for me within silver. I made another purchase last week. I had it delivered to me today, which is amazing. And we'll move to the Bitcoin chart next. And the price action, when we see, or I should say if and when, if you're that confident, price action having a decent break above this level, especially with Litecoin being its main one, the Litecoin against the US dollar, then I'll be one who has been able to successfully start with a US dollar figure noticeably, a little bit noticeably less than 4 figures, and turn it into 7 figures. But I'm going to need great prices to do such. However, the way I look at the overall market for myself, my overall view on trading is the following. As long as markets move, and especially when they are very choppy like this, then I'm going to be able to take advantage of the swings very, very easily. So if Bitcoin prices, as long as they don't go to nothing, crash basically, if it's moving, it's fine, I'm going to be profiting. I just realize that if the Bitcoin prices and Litecoin, I can use this chart as well, that if it's going to have a period of time where it tests some of these lower numbers, that as long as it's, again, not going to nothing and it will quote unquote bottom in the future, even if it goes down to like say 50, 60 or the $40 level, if it goes down to 40, it's probably going to take a significant period of time to do so. Maybe 6 months, maybe a year, year and a half. And then if it bottoms from there, we see later on, oh, we're back to 130. Well, all the time amongst that period, it would take a long time. It could even be over a year to go to 40 back to 130. It could do it in 2 months as well, or 3 months, if it does it again. But I'll be making all these trades along the side that's going to long-term help my portfolio. So one thing as a trader, I like to get paid, if you will. And for me, getting physical silver one way is doing it. But it's an aspect when you can be able to make a large amount, then you want to be able to reward yourself that way. But I really, really kind of wonder, unless of course you have like 4 or 5 times larger amounts of one asset class like silver over precious or over the other thing you're looking to get into really cheaply, then I just don't get it. I really, really don't. But for me, the whole point of me making this on a video is understanding your situation, understanding how you're diversified. Because if you have like a whole bunch of silver and like no cryptocurrencies, I would be saying, you know what, is probably a good idea to turn some of that silver into cryptos. And then if you're doing well, especially if you can find mechanisms like myself to trade things along the side rather than that of hodling, but hodling can be just fine as well too, that when you have profits, that you end up getting silver back. And especially if you can, say you turn in just a 10-ounce bar even, or even let's do a couple 10-ounce bars. So now you got about $500 Canadian, $400 American, $350, whatever. You turn like 375, and then you trade along the side, and next thing you know, you got a crypto portfolio worth $4,000 or $5,000. Now you're like, maybe I'll buy $1,000 worth of silver. I'll go from 5,000 down to 4,000, and you can start building up a portfolio, and then getting more of those ounces of silver back as well. Alrighty, I think this is pretty much it at this stage. And I'd like to thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.